Hello, everyone. I see someone has a Dune sketch up already. That is awesome. So welcome to Inktober day 13. Today our prompt is Dune. So I'm going to be doing like sand dunes for mine, I think. So if you know what that is, that's what I'm going to be doing. And for the technique lesson, I'm going to be talking about stippling. Let me actually write it. Because some people, nope, let's look that. Focus. Some people might not know what this word means or have run into it before. If you guys know what pointillism is, you see those paintings with a bunch of dots and the dots make a picture. That's basically what stippling is. It's using dots to shade and to form pictures. So we're going to be doing a lot of dot making today. I'm going to give a couple minutes before I get into the nitty gritty instruction. I'm just making like a gradient where it starts out dark.
Hello.
And gets lighter and lighter. Hello. Hope you guys are having fun with your Inktober drawings. Coming up with interesting things. So if you haven't yet, make sure you have some paper to maybe take notes on, and then paper to do your Inktober project on. I'm using smallish paper from this pad that's a little bit thick that I really like for ink because it doesn't bleed through or tear up my paper. But I'm just doing my notes on regular paper. And for the most part, I'm going to be using this Faber-Castell pen, but it doesn't matter what kind of pen you use. You could even do stuff like this with a ballpoint pen. It just might take you a while. Stippling takes a lot of time. But this is the tip of it. This is a felt tip pen. Like that.
Can we
I
use
also have a brush pen. So I might be using this a little bit too. If you have a bunch of pens and you want to try experimenting with your pens, that's a good thing to do too. With this brush pen, if I hold it at the very, very tip, I can get tiny, tiny, tiny little dots. And if I do more to the side, I can get much larger dots very, very quickly. And my camera is struggling with keeping things in focus today. But we're going to have a lot of patience today. Stippling takes a lot of patience, but you can get some really, really cool effects. I'm just going to go ahead and show you some examples. And then hopefully by the time I'm done with that, everyone will be here. Okay. Let's get a second one alone. Okay. So here's a drawing. Hopefully you can see this clearly on your computer. But it's all just dots. There are no lines. Where it's darker, it's very, very thick clustered dots. And for the wider areas, there's little to no dots. You can get really, really nice textures. Look at the wood texture. And this raccoon looks all nice and fuzzy. It's really cool stuff. I think there's like a bird. This one looks more like they filled in for the darker stuff. And then for the transitions, they did more dots and hatch marks. This doggy, all dots, no lines. This eye. I like the skull too. So it's real. So you can get really solid looking drawings, or you can be more abstract with your shapes. But if you look at the outside of the skull, there are no lines. They're just little dots trailed together. And then where the shadows are, they cluster in and get really, really dark. That's more like hatch marks from what we did last time. This is really cool. So our prompt today is Dune. So I'm doing, think of doing like a desert scene. So this is a nice little fixture. So you can see there's some dots scattered here around the corners. And then for the land, they're very close together. It's very controlled, the lights and the darks, but it's all dots. All dots. Okay. So if you want to take notes with me, we're going to experiment with our dot making a little bit before we get started on the prompt for today. So just like with the hatch marks, we can make, I'm going to use a different pen. We can make different tones based on how big our dots are and how close they are together. I'm going to start by just doing a ball and with a shadow on the ball. And I'm not going to outline my circle. I'm just going to do dots to kind of make a round shape. Don't worry if yours isn't perfectly round, like I did not do a perfectly round circle. I'm just going to go over it a couple of times with some dots. I'm going to make the light coming from this direction. If you want to make the light coming from a different direction on yours, you can do that. And so the shadow is going to be on this side over here. So I'm going to want to have most of my dots clustered on this side of my ball. This is a nice like zone out, relax kind of project, because I'm not really worried so much about where my dots land. I just know it needs to be in this general direction. So I'm just lifting up my pen, not pencil, putting it back down very quickly because we have a lot of dots to get through. Dot, 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 dot. And I'm just building up these dark areas. If I had like a white pen, like a gel pen and black paper, you would just do the reverse. You can get cool effects with that too. Using white pen and dark paper, and then drawing in all the light parts. So I've built up this fuzzy circle thing. Now I want to transition between the dark half and the light half. So I'm going to scatter some dots, but I'm going to keep them further apart and smaller than on my shadow side. I just want a little bit of a transition. And I think of this place up here as like my highlight shape. And you can always go back over and make things darker if you need to. You just add more dots. Now I'm missing a cast shadow down here. I'm just going to dot, dot, dot. I'm gonna leave.
Hand is up.
Yes. Hello.
Does it mean like on the darker parts you use more dots and the lighter parts you use less dots?
Yep. That's all it is. That's the basic principle. Wherever it's supposed to be darker, more dots. And then wherever it's lighter, less dots. So I don't want to lose this circle shape. So I'm leaving a little bit of a gap on my cast shadow. Sometimes my dots end up being more like dashes because I'm going too fast. But that's okay too. Once they're clustered together, you can see around here, it's kind of hard to tell individual dots from each other on the darker parts. But that's just like this is just the basic concept. That's all it is. I'm gonna do something more abstract. So I don't really know what shape I'm making. I think I'll make like a cloud or something. Now, if I want this to be a cloud that's very light, then everything around it is going to be darker. So instead of doing all my dots on the object, I'm going to do all the dots around the object. So I want the cluster of dots to be around the contour or the outside edge of this cloud, and then get lighter and lighter as it fades out. A really nice effect. If you have different pens or even like different markers that you want to try using, you can try using different pens on the same like test, kind of see what they do.
So all it really is a matter of clumped together dots or spaced apart dots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the size of the dots will change how dark something looks, and then also how spaced apart they are.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm spacing these further and further apart. So
What if you use colors of dots? Like, I mean, say if you have different colored gel pens, what if you mix those colors together when you're doing dots?
Oh, you absolutely can do that. Yeah. If you look up for painting, it's called Pointillism. There's some very famous paintings that are just colored dots all over the place. Actually, your printer will print in colored dots too. This is kind of like how a printer works.
So the printer uses very light dots.
We could be a living printer.
Right?
A living, breathing printer.
You just work a little more slowly than the printers do. So let's say just this is the outside of my cloud. I can leave it as a stark white shape, but I can also add a little bit of shadow onto my cloud as well. So I'm gonna just do a very light placing of dots. And I'm kind of following the outside edge of my cloud. Because I still want a lot of that white space. And if I want to change the shape, like if I don't like how high it is up here, I just add more dots. and have that fade into the background. So we work kind of slow and just build up and build up and build up. And we can't erase, so if we don't like how something looks, you know, you just figure it out, keep going.
So we're kind of like a living printer, but just slower. It's like a machine that doesn't work.
Yes, it's very inexact, and we're sort of just finding the image as we are working. So we're not using lines like traditional lines that we would draw with our pen, but we can sort of make lines just by leaving white space as well. So if you really need to have like a bright white line, I'm just doing a swirl. If you want to try this, you can do whatever kind of line you want to do.
I want to show something.
We'll give some time once we're done with the instruction.
So I just want to show a little thing. So when you do pointillism with character, it gives it like a more cool feeling about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has a different texture.
I drew like a cartoon peanut, and it just gives it such coolness to it. It like the possibilities you can make of characters with just dots. But and it could be more harder because when you're making a character out of just dots, it's gonna take more longer and it's gonna be more harder.
Yeah, it can take longer. Sometimes if you just zone out, it's also very relaxing too. It just depends. Some people do entire illustrations this way. But yeah, you get really cool effects sometimes with characters. So what I'm doing is I'm leaving this white gap where I want that swirl to be. I'm not putting any dots along that white gap.
How did people get used to so much of dots all the time?
I don't know. I think they just like doing it.
Because it kind of hurts our hand.
Yeah. Yeah, try varying up. I don't know if you guys can see me, but I don't have my hand in the same position all the time. I switch it up. And I'm trying to keep my page stationary so you guys can see it. But I also turn my paper all the time. So if I need a different angle, I will turn my page, and you can see I switch. I just do whatever feels natural. So I don't lock my hand or my wrist in the same position all the time. I change it up. And then you can also take breaks too. If your hand is hurting, you can just pause and like stretch out a little bit. Usually if I'm remembering to twist my paper and turn it, I usually won't feel any wrist pain. I want this cluster to be really, really dark. Another thing you can do, it's like a stippling, it's like a cheating move, but if you have a brush pen, I'm gonna do another circle.
Oh wait, if you do that, then do the brush pen on top of that? I did that.
So I'm just gonna make this one really dark, a little bit. And then the transition out, very closely clustered dots, and then I work my way out to fewer and fewer dots. So as long as the transition between the brush pen to the white is good, you're kind of good to go. It's a little bit cheating because it's not actually stippling at that point, but it follows a lot of the same concepts. I get an idea. I'm going to do like a planet or something with a tiny little dark circle. Another thing you can do to distinguish some objects from other objects, I'm going to make this circle really, really dark and then leave like a halo of white around it. And then make the background also dark, have a dark edge. And if the halo is too big, I can always take it back. So here I was using like the side of my pen more. And then as I go out and out, I'm using the tip. Dot, 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 dot.
Today's my dad's birthday.
Really? That's awesome. Are you guys doing anything for his birthday? Anything special?
Yes, but it's a secret.
Ah, it's a surprise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I tell the secret now, then my dad might know.
My birthday's tomorrow.
Really? Oh, wow. Do a lot of people have October birthdays?
I guess so. It is Halloween.
Uh-huh.
It is Halloween month.
Yeah, my brother's birthday is this month, and then also my nephew is turning 1 year old in a couple days. So, yeah, it's a lot of October birthdays. So anyway, I think that's enough for that one. With the camera. So these are the different stippling techniques. So there's lots of texture, things look kind of fuzzy, so I thought it'd be good for sand.
Wow.
Kind of a fuzzy looking texture thing. If you want to try color, go for it. I just have my black pens right now. There's that. All right, any just general questions? I think most people, you guys got the concept pretty quick right off the bat.
Yeah, it's kind of a simple and easy technique.
Yeah. So I'm just going to flip this over and start my brainstorming. And I'm just going to use my animator pencil like I always do. So dune. So I was thinking like sand dunes for this one. I'm going to pull up my pictures. So kind of look. So the idea of like hills of sand with ripples in it from the wind, maybe something like that. But I don't know quite what I'm going to do and what it's going to look like yet. So I'm going to play around with that for a little bit. I think we had a question what you guys did yesterday. Does anyone want to share their Inktober from yesterday?
I like to show something. It's like a pointillism car.
A pointillism car?
Yeah, a pointillism.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and I like your the peanut thing that you did too.
Yeah, the peanut.
Yeah, yeah. So you can do all sorts of things with this, all sorts of shapes.
Instead of making dots, can you make really tiny circles?
Yeah, sure.
Like I'm thinking about that, and I think that might be good.
Uh-huh.
Here's Tater Tot. I did a banana peel for yesterday.
Nice. I like the red.
Yeah,
Are
I
you
got a new
are
red
you
ink
doing?
pen. So
Yeah,
I
are you
was
doing
like,
a lot of
haha.
color?
Yeah. This is one of the few pieces that I used the red one for, so it was fun.
Okay. Does anyone else want to share some of their Inktober drawings from other days?
Who would like to share?
I wasn't here yesterday, but I wanted to share the cloud that I made.
Uh-huh.
Either that or it's a flattened, half flattened raisin.
Uh-huh. Nice. Look at all those little dots on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Evie.
Hey, Evie.
This is my teeth one. I did with them.
Nice work, Evie.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, I love how there's little gaps between the lines in the fur. That turned out really cool.
Stop, Sparky.
That's awesome. Was anyone else wanting to share?
Laura would like to share.
Okay, so I have this one. It was for the day Hope.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's really cool. Did you use a brush pen for that, or
I actually used ink.
use like a dip where you dip the
Yeah.
pen? Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Yeah, I love people experimenting with that. That's awesome. Yeah, if you guys have access to like ink vials, you can experiment where you have like a pen and dip it in the ink and then draw. That takes practice, but it's really fun to do. I don't know quite what I want to do yet. I'm just drawing like little wavy lines. Then maybe the wind's going this way. So there's going to be a bunch of wavies. I like this one too, though. Sometimes when you're doing little sketches to try to figure out what you're doing, it helps if you put in where the shadows are going to be. I'm just making stuff up. Maybe to have like a little oasis tucked way in the back here. Something like that.
Can I share?
Sure.
I did little miniature drawings, but I think I did a good job. Okay, I can't see it yet. I'm just.
Yeah, we'll give it a second to adjust.
Yeah.
Ooh, so who's the character on the left?
Oh, on the left? I'm not sure. I just made
Yeah, you just made it up just now? That's awesome.
So actually what I did is the first part of the class where you were just showing how to make light and dark, I just turned that into flags and I just added a kitten on the bottom.
Okay, so just kind of
improvising.
Yeah, improvise, yeah.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
And then I did the desert with the sun. I did it entirely with dots, not a lot of dots, but I did it with dots. I tried to do it with dots.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I see a sheep. Is that a sheep?
It's just a silhouette of some kind of animal. I have no idea.
It does kind of have a sheepish sheep shape.
Yeah.
It's the sheep shape.
It's some random silhouette. And then on the other side, on the left side, there's this tumbleweed.
Uh-huh. Ooh, tumbleweed, good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Does anyone have any crazy ideas that they're gonna do for today's prompt? I know I'm just doing like a desert scene, but I don't know if I should keep it high.
Saif's hand up.
Hi, Saif.
What is that?
Okay.
That was super noisy.
Saif, did you want to share something?
That made my eardrums bleed.
I think he froze.
Okay, we'll come back
There
to
we
him.
go.
Oh,
Okay,
there he
Saif.
is.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, can you draw anything you want?
So if you want to follow the Inktober prompts, the prompt for today is Doom, if you're following along day to day. But if you want to just do something different.
Can I draw anything I want?
Yeah, if you want to just draw something. If you want to draw something different. Yeah, Saif, can I have you actually type in the chat or turn the audio down? Because it's really loud. But yeah, you can do anything you want. If you want to follow the Inktober prompts, you can follow the Inktober prompts. But if you just want to just feel like doing something else, you can just do something else.
That was absolutely too loud.
Yeah, it was loud.
That's too loud.
It's like a screen, except a computer screen.
It's having some feedback. That's okay. We'll have.
Do you have to do sand dunes with dots, or can you just like do whatever you feel like?
If you want to.
Okay, because I did it with dots. Entirely with dots.
Maybe something in the distance. Maybe something like that.
Naylene, how do you show some kind of a full shape with dots? Like when I'm doing dots, sometimes it like kind of spaces out, or I'm not able to do the full shape. Like it's usually done in lines. Is there any way to show like a full shape, like not spaced out dots?
I'm not sure what you mean. When I want like, so like here, this is a full circle, right? And it's all dots, but the dots are very close together, especially around the edges. And then they spread out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can definitely do, it's like a line, but it's just with clustered together.
Should I keep
dots?
If I want it to be like really dark and to show like a line, but used with dots, should I go like over and over a few times over my drawings?
Of course. Yeah, we always can build it up, right? So the darker we need it to be, the more dots we have to put. So, it can go darker and darker. So this is basically like a line that I'm making right now, but it's just with dots. I can make like more of a box. So it's still kind of like, if I need it to be a hard edged line, then I have one side that's really dark dots clustered together. And then the other side is just stark white, and it makes a really hard line. So you can do full shapes that way. Yeah, just think about the tone of where the shadows are going to be, and then where the white parts are going to be, where the light is going to be. And that's what makes things look more solid. You want to go for like a solid shape. If you want to go more abstract, you can go more abstract with it too. And then, obviously I would keep going to do that like background space. And the more of the outside that I get darker and darker, the more that this will feel like its own shape. Anyway, I'm gonna switch to my Inktober paper. So I always do a little bit of pre-sketching before I ink, just so I know what I'm doing. But you know, if you want to just go for it, you can just go for it too. So I like it with the really high horizon line. So I'm going to do that with this one. Make that really high. And then some huge sand, I'm gonna have some huge sand hills and then some smaller ones. And then I like having this object. Maybe I'll make it a little smaller than this cactus, but I'll just draw a fun little cactus shape. And when I sketch, I try to be very light because I know the ink has to go over this. Sunset back here.
Naylene, if you want to do a really funny thing, why not actually put a hat over the cactus?
Put a hat on the cactus, yeah. Make it like a cartoon cactus.
Yeah.
What kind of hat should it be?
Mexican.
Mexican hat?
Yeah.
Get a giant
Mexico-
sombrero.
I think somebody raised their hand.
I
I didn't, can you type that in the chat and then I'll get to it because it's really hard to hear.
think the hat should be Mexican because Mexico is really hot and so is the desert.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
off the desert in Mexico. I'm just drawing little arcs. Maybe the wind catches it here and goes back this way. Something.
Guys, it's not a Mexican hat, it's a sombrero.
That's right. Some people don't know what it's called though.
I know what a sombrero is, and I know what it's called.
I think Aya has their hand up.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
Kaya. Is she? I don't see her.
The camera's not on.
Okay. I was like, I don't see anything.
Okay. Oh, maybe it was a mistake.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see her hand raised anymore.
That's fine. So I'm just lightly erasing so the pencil lines don't interfere with the ink, but I can still see the lines, so I'll still know what to do, where to go.
You should add a man in the background walking.
I can do that too. Add a man in the background. So I know I want this like half sun thing to be bright white. So I'm just gonna lightly start putting dots to give myself a border. So I know that's where the sun's gonna be. You can start with like the darkest areas and put those in first, or you can just start light, the lighter areas, put those in first. But I'm just kind of letting it go. Following around this line. Dot, dot, dot. And then I'm just gonna jump around over here. Sombrero. So the cactus and sombrero are in the front. So they're gonna be darker. And then as it goes further back, things get lighter and lighter. That's how we make things look like they're further back in space. I'm going to really cluster my dots around this shadow edge. So I'm just giving myself boundaries of where objects are, and then picking where I need shadows and just going over those a bunch of times. And have the cactus be in front right here. And then I like the little balls at the end hanging off of the hat, little like puff balls. So if you notice, I'm not following my sketch exactly. I'm just using it as a guide so I don't get lost. And then I'm going to leave a halo around the cactus so I can still see that full shape. I'm going to turn my paper. So this is my shadow edge on the sombrero. It's also going to be my shadow edge on the cactus. So I have to make sure that I shade the cactus too. We have about 15 minutes left. Does anybody want to share their progress so far, even if it's not done? I'm like zoning out on this drawing. Yeah. Dot, 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 dot. If I'm doing something and I'm getting bored, I'll just move on to something else. So I'm just going to hop over here. I want to get some of this sand in before the end of class. So it's like the ripples the wind makes in sand. They make all these nice little trails. Little waves. So I'm just doing little trails of dots, waves. And then even though this is all sand, it's still going to have a light side and a shadow side. So the sun is over here. So let me push this out of the way more. So I'm still going to do a little bit of a shadow side over here. Oops. Sorry if you guys hear that. Someone set the fire alarm off. All right, now it's off. But I have this nice little ridge now. There's a little bit of a shadow. Does anybody have any questions or anybody want to share their progress so far?
There was a question in the chat about what kind of pens you're using.
So this is a Faber-Castell. It's a fine tip felt pen. You can see it better.
Thank you.
Against the white like that. It really doesn't matter though. You can do this with ballpoint pens. I like Faber-Castell because the nib doesn't get pushed in. Sometimes the nib gets pushed in.
Oh, don't forget the black pen. And where you actually do the drawing and not coloring kind of split.
Yeah. You're using color?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use color.
Yeah, the black thing split in half.
The pen split in half?
The felt tip did.
Oh, the tip split in half? Oh no. Yeah, I've never had a tip split in half before. I've definitely had them get pushed in. So I was pushing down too hard and the pen got pushed in. I haven't had it with these ones though. But it really doesn't matter, whatever you're comfortable with. I know people like Micron. So they have really, really fine tipped pens. So I know I can switch to my brush tip. Because again, this is in the front, so it's going to be darker. So I can get bigger dots closer together. I could even probably just brush this part, but I'm not going to. I still want that sandy texture. So I'm just going to do dots. I'll start where the darkest part of the shadow is and work my way out. And then I'll just switch back and forth. I'll have both pens in one hand and then switch back and forth between them. Make it go a little faster. And if I feel like I need to go back over it later, I can go back over it.
I'm going to use a little and big pen to get that really good looking texture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice to use it for prints. Just get whatever you have, experiment. I'm sure that gets on camera. There we go. Definitely want this cactus to be nice and dark and outlined. Especially under the hat. Nice dark outline. And then for the transition, I'm using the other pen. These things come in all sizes, so you can kind of, sometimes they come in sets. Like I got this one in a set. Like that. So you can have a lot to experiment with. I still end up using, if I have a set of like 4 or 5, I'll end up using like 1 or 2 pens most often. And then I'll use the other pens like only occasionally. But it's nice to have some options to experiment with.
I was at the art festival a couple of years ago, and someone did this technique by using on a huge board, wooden board, and they used nails.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've seen stuff like that. So it's kind of like this, except for the dots, instead of just putting dots on paper, you're hammering nails into a board.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes a
So some of the
picture.
nails
Yeah.
were really close and some were spread apart.
Yeah, yeah. So I like this. I did some dots outside the edge of my cactus. Oops, sorry about that, guys. I bumped my camera. There we go. Sorry, that was my phone. Gotta get back in. Anyways. Sorry. I'll put some dots outside the edge so they look like the little spikes on a cactus. That's what I got so far. Pull that back. Does anybody want to share what they have so far?
I do.
Was that Nathaniel?
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, let me just leave that.
I haven't done.
The guy walking.
I'm not really done inking in my picture.
For sure. Yeah, you can keep going. This can take a lot of time. Does anybody else want to share what they have so far?
Here's Tater Tot.
Hey, Tater Tot. Nice. I like that you did it inside a vial or whatever you call those glass things. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Naylene, did we lose your phone?
Yep.
Okay.
I tried to get it back on and it was doing the echo thing again.
Not
I'm not
happening.
quite sure what's wrong with the audio.
Okay.
Yeah, I can try it again. No, so we have 5 more minutes. Does anybody else want to share what they have so far? Maybe this will work.
Oh, here's Evie.
Nice. Were you doing a sandworm?
I tried.
Coming out? Yeah. That's great. I love it.
Triangles on the place where I assume is his mouth hole for teeth.
That kind of reminds me of Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I love Beetlejuice sandworms. Love
Yeah,
it.
it might be that thing that I was able to draw in a book.
Okay. Sorry, it's off to the side now. Sorry, it's in portrait. Let me just unplug it. I had it plugged in so it wouldn't shut off, and then every time I bump it, it shuts off. So you can't win. Was anybody else wanting to share their Inktober?
Oh, Soleil wanted to share her rodent prompt.
Oh, sure. I love your hat.
Thank you. So I drew a pacarana, and they're like cousins to the capybara, and I made it as a clown.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love your line work. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Have you been doing all the Inktobers?
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. Any other last minute shares or any last minute questions? Could be on work we worked on, or it could just be any last minute questions.
Saif's hand is up.
Hi, Saif.
Wait, what was I gonna say? I have a style similar to it. I just do a basic hail. Instead of drawing a lot of dots, I like to draw a lot of lines.
Uh-huh.
But they're still not connected.
So
And then,
dash marks.
yeah, and then after I just connect them so they look neat.
Uh-huh. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, this is a great time to be experimenting with mark making. I want to get this ridge in. Ideally, I probably should have started just in the front and worked my way back. But I don't do this with these. I will do like one area and then get bored and then pop over to another area and then start doing that. Oops, that was off camera. Anyway, this is what I got so far. Obviously, I need to do a lot more to kind of fill out the illustration. But that's just the basics of stippling. Making little sandy textures. Any last call for questions or any last minute sharing of what you're working on? Hope we got to most everybody.
I really want to show a pointillism eye that I did in a different class, but I don't know where it is.
Oh, okay. Well, we are out of time right now, but maybe on another class you can share that too.
Right.
All right. Well, great job, everybody. Thanks for sharing all your work. And then I will see you guys next week. More Inktober's. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great week.
Bye, guys.